Welcome back to the channel everyone. It's great to have you here today, and if you love fascinating stories where history, mystery, and astonishing value collide in the most unexpected ways, then you are absolutely in the right place, because today we are diving deep into one of the most incredible and mind-bending tales in the world of rare coins. A story that sounds almost impossible at first hearing yet continues to captivate collectors, historians, and everyday people alike, the story of a humble 2001 1-cent coin that, because of a unique chain of errors, mistakes, and extraordinary circumstances, has been valued at an unbelievable $16 million, a value so high that it forces us to rethink how something so small, so ordinary, and so often ignored can suddenly become worth more than luxury mansions, supercars, and even entire businesses. And to truly understand how this happened, we need to slowly unpack every detail, every flaw, every accident, and every possibility that transformed a simple penny into a legendary artifact, because the magic of this story lies not in a single mistake but in the rare convergence of many, starting with the year 2001 itself, a year that sat at a symbolic crossroads in modern history, marking the dawn of a new millennium, a period when mints around the world were under immense pressure to produce massive quantities of coins to meet economic demand while also handling transitions in technology, materials, and quality control. And in the United States, the 1-cent coin had already been the subject of intense debate for decades, criticized for its low purchasing power yet still produced in staggering numbers, which meant speed often took priority over perfection, and it is within this environment that the first seeds of error were planted, because errors in coinage are rarely intentional. They are born from worn dies, misaligned presses, contaminated metal blanks, incorrect planchets, improper striking pressure, and human oversight. And when several of these occur together in a single coin, the result can be astonishing, and in the case of this 2001 1-cent coin, what makes it so valuable is not just one visible mistake but an almost impossible combination of multiple errors layered on top of one another in a way that should statistically never happen, beginning with the metal composition itself. As standard 2001 pennies were struck primarily on zinc cores with a thin copper plating, a cost-saving measure adopted years earlier, yet this particular coin was allegedly struck on a planchet intended for an entirely different denomination or composition, possibly a leftover copper alloy blank or even a transitional experimental planchet that was never meant to enter circulation, resulting in a weight and density that immediately set it apart from ordinary pennies, and this alone would have made it valuable. But the story does not stop there, because the strike itself was flawed in spectacular fashion, showing evidence of a dramatic off-center strike combined with a partial double strike, meaning the coin was struck once, shifted slightly, and struck again, creating overlapping design elements that appear almost ghostly, as if the coin exists in two realities at once, and adding to this visual chaos is a misalignment of the die axis, causing the front and back designs to be rotated relative to each other, an error that collectors prize because it reveals a mechanical failure at a critical moment in the minting process. And while these types of errors can individually be found on other coins, rarely do they coexist on a single specimen, yet somehow this penny carries them all, and as if that were not enough, the coin also displays a dramatic die crack running across Lincoln's portrait, believed to be the result of a severely fatigued die that should have been retired but instead continued striking coins until it fractured, leaving a raised line of metal that tells a story of stress, overuse, and neglect. And some experts believe that this crack progressed into a full die break, meaning that at the exact moment this coin was struck, the die was in the process of failing, capturing a split second of industrial collapse frozen in metal, and these mechanical errors alone would already push the value into extraordinary territory. But what elevates this coin into the realm of legend is the possibility of a wrong-year die being involved, because some researchers and numismatists suggest that elements of the design resemble dies from adjacent years, hinting that a mismatched or improperly dated die may have been used, which would imply a severe lapse in mint protocol, and if proven conclusively, such an error would be considered one of the most egregious in modern U.S. minting history, because it would mean that quality control systems failed at multiple levels simultaneously, allowing a mismatched die, wrong planchet, and failing equipment to all converge on a single coin. And beyond the physical errors, there is also the matter of provenance, the documented history of where the coin came from and how it was discovered, because value in the rare coin world is not just about what you see but about what you can prove, and according to the story, this penny was discovered not in a bank vault or private collection but in ordinary circulation, possibly found in pocket change or a coin jar, which adds a powerful narrative element that collectors adore. The idea that unimaginable value can hide in plain sight, waiting for a keen eye or a moment of curiosity, and once the coin was recognized as unusual, it allegedly passed through the hands of several experts, each confirming aspects of its uniqueness, and with each verification its legend grew, because when multiple respected authorities agree that a coin defies conventional classification, the market responds with intense interest, and in auctions, rarity combined with story creates competition, and competition drives prices into the stratosphere, and the $16 million valuation is not just a reflection of metal and mistakes but of desire, of the human urge to own something no one else can, something that represents a perfect storm of chance, error, and history, and another factor that cannot be ignored is the condition of the coin, because despite its errors it is said to be remarkably well preserved, with minimal wear, suggesting it did not circulate for long before being removed, which is extraordinary because most error coins found in circulation show heavy wear that diminishes their value, yet this one appears almost protected by fate, as if it was meant to survive long enough to be recognized for what it is, and condition plays a massive role in valuation, because the closer a coin is to its original struck state, the more clearly its errors can be studied and appreciated, and clarity adds confidence, and confidence adds value, and when you combine pristine condition with unprecedented errors and compelling provenance, you create an object that transcends normal collecting and enters the realm of cultural artifact, and there is also the speculative element, the idea of what this coin represents for the future of numismatics, because it challenges assumptions about modern coinage, which many people believe cannot produce true rarities due to advanced technology and quality control, yet this coin stands as proof that even in the modern era, human systems can fail in spectacular and valuable ways, and that realization alone has fueled enormous interest, because collectors are now looking at their change with renewed curiosity, wondering what other treasures might be hiding unnoticed, and the psychological impact of this cannot be overstated, because value is not purely objective, it is shaped by belief, by excitement, by stories that capture the imagination, and the story of a $16 million penny does exactly that. It captures the imagination so completely that it becomes larger than the coin itself, becoming a symbol of chance, of overlooked potential, of the idea that mistakes can sometimes be worth more than perfection, and this philosophical dimension adds another invisible layer of value, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying meaning, and the possibility that this coin might be unique, truly one of one, is perhaps the most powerful driver of all, because if no other example exists, or ever will exist, then its value is theoretically limitless, constrained only by what someone is willing to pay, and in a world where wealth at the highest level seeks unique stores of value, objects like this become attractive not just as collectibles but as investments, as conversation pieces, as symbols of exclusivity. And this is where the $16 million figure becomes more understandable, because at that level the buyer is not comparing it to other pennies, they are comparing it to fine art, rare gemstones, historic manuscripts, and one-of-a-kind artifacts, and when viewed through that lens, a coin that encapsulates a once-in-a-generation convergence of errors, history, and narrative can absolutely command such a price, and there are also whispers, unconfirmed but tantalizing, of additional anomalies on the coin, such as microscopic doubling visible only under magnification, or unusual metal flow lines that suggest abnormal striking pressure, details that only deepen the mystery and further distinguish it from every other known example, and each new detail discovered adds another chapter to its story, another reason for experts to debate, analyze, and marvel, keeping the coin alive in conversation and ensuring its place in numismatic lore. Next. 1999 1 cent, today, and if you enjoy unbelievable stories where everyday objects turn out to be worth life-changing money, then settle in, because what we're about to explore sounds like fiction but is rooted in the fascinating world of rare coin errors. And today's story centers on a seemingly ordinary 1999 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $15 million due to a remarkable combination of errors, mistakes, and rare possibilities that aligned in a way so unlikely it borders on miraculous. And to truly understand how a penny from 1999 could ever reach such an extraordinary value, we need to step back and slowly unravel the context of the time, the minting process, the specific year, the pressures inside the mint, the mechanical failures, the human oversights, and the chain reaction of flaws that transformed a coin meant to be virtually worthless in daily commerce into a legendary artifact that collectors and investors dream about, because value in numismatics is not just about age or metal but about rarity, story, and the frozen evidence of moments when systems failed, and 1999 was a year overflowing with opportunity for such failures, as it marked the final full year before the turn of the millennium, a time when mints across the United States were operating under immense pressure to meet production quotas while also managing public excitement, commemorative programs, technological transitions, and increased scrutiny, and the 1-cent coin, already controversial for its declining purchasing power, was still being produced in massive quantities, meaning speed and volume often overshadowed perfection, and when you combine high output with aging machinery and human fatigue, the probability of errors increases dramatically, setting the stage for the birth of something extraordinary. And the first major factor that makes this 1999 penny so valuable is its metal composition, because while standard 1999 pennies were struck on zinc planchets with a thin copper plating, evidence suggests that this particular coin was struck on an incorrect planchet, possibly a leftover copper alloy blank intended for an earlier year, a foreign coin, or even an experimental or transitional blank that was never meant to leave the mint, and this alone creates massive value because wrong planchet errors are among the most sought after in modern coinage, as they prove that multiple safeguards failed simultaneously, allowing the wrong metal disc to enter the striking chamber, and the weight, density, and sound of such a coin immediately distinguish it from ordinary pennies, making it a physical anomaly that can be scientifically verified, and collectors prize such verification because it removes doubt and strengthens authenticity, and when authenticity is strong, value follows, but the metal mistake is only the beginning, because the strike itself shows dramatic evidence of mechanical malfunction, including a severe off-center strike that left part of the design missing while retaining a full date, something that is surprisingly rare because most off-center coins lose critical identifying features, yet this one retains enough information to clearly confirm its year, adding to its desirability, and layered on top of this is a clear double strike, where the coin was struck once, failed to eject properly, shifted slightly, and was struck again, creating overlapping letters, doubled numbers, and a surreal visual effect that appears almost three-dimensional, as if the design is echoing itself, and this type of error requires precise timing of failure, making it far less common than standard doubling. And then there is the issue of die alignment, because the front and back of the coin are rotated relative to each other beyond acceptable tolerances, indicating a loose or improperly seated die, a condition that should have been caught quickly but instead persisted long enough to strike this coin, and die rotation. Errors are particularly prized because they provide insight into the internal mechanics of the press, revealing moments when the machine was literally coming apart under stress, and speaking of stress, the coin also exhibits dramatic die cracks and possible die breaks, visible as raised lines and irregular metal formations across the surface, suggesting that the die used to strike the coin was near the end of its usable life and may have fractured at the moment of impact, capturing a fleeting instant of industrial failure preserved forever in metal. And these cracks are not merely cosmetic but serve as fingerprints of a specific die at a specific moment, which means if no other coins exist with the same pattern, this penny could be a unique survivor of that exact failure. And uniqueness is the holy grail of collecting, because when an item is truly one of one, traditional price comparisons no longer apply, and the market becomes driven purely by desire and competition. And adding even more intrigue is the possibility that this coin was struck with a mismatched die, because some experts believe subtle design elements suggest that either the obverse or reverse die may not belong to the standard 1999 issue, potentially originating from a different year or a test die that was never intended for circulation. And if this theory is proven, it would represent a catastrophic breakdown in mint protocol, because it would mean multiple incorrect components were assembled and used together, something that modern mint systems are designed to prevent at all costs, and such a breakdown would elevate the coin from rare to historic, because it would serve as physical evidence of a systemic failure during a highly scrutinized period in minting history. And beyond the physical errors, the story of how the coin was discovered plays a massive role in its valuation, because according to the narrative, this penny was not found in a controlled environment but emerged from everyday circulation, possibly discovered in pocket change, a coin roll, or a jar that had sat untouched for years, and this element of chance resonates deeply with collectors and the public alike, reinforcing the idea that extraordinary value can hide in plain sight. And once the coin was identified as unusual, it reportedly passed through multiple expert examinations, each confirming different aspects of its anomalies. And as more professionals weighed in, confidence grew, and with confidence came escalating valuations, because the rare coin market thrives on consensus among experts, and when respected authorities agree that a coin defies classification, collectors take notice, and the bidding environment becomes intensely competitive, and the $15 million valuation reflects not just what the coin is but what it represents, a convergence of rarity, story, and symbolism. And condition plays a critical role here as well, because despite its errors, the coin is believed to be in exceptional condition, showing minimal wear, sharp details, and intact surfaces, suggesting it was removed from circulation quickly, perhaps by someone who sensed it was special even before understanding why, and high condition amplifies the visibility of errors, making them clearer, more dramatic, and more convincing, which in turn strengthens market demand. And another layer of value comes from the broader implications of the coin's existence, because for many years collectors believed that modern pennies could not produce true rarities due to improved technology and quality control, yet this 1999 penny stands as a powerful counterexample, proving that even in an era of automation, mistakes can still slip through, and this realization has sparked renewed interest in modern coin collecting, as people begin to scrutinize recent years with fresh eyes, hoping to uncover the next anomaly, and this renewed attention adds value retroactively, because the coin becomes a catalyst for a broader movement within the hobby, and psychologically, the idea that a penny can be worth $15 million is irresistible, because it challenges assumptions about value, labor, and worth, making the coin a symbol of how randomness and imperfection can sometimes outperform intention and design, and this philosophical dimension enhances its appeal, transforming it from a mere collectible into a conversation piece that embodies chance itself, and at the highest levels of wealth, buyers seek exactly this type of object, something unique, portable, historically intriguing, and universally recognizable, and a 1-cent coin fits that profile perfectly, because everyone understands what a penny is, which makes its transformation into a multi-million-dollar artifact even more striking, and rumors of additional microscopic anomalies only deepen the mystique, such as subtle doubling visible under magnification, unusual metal flow lines suggesting abnormal striking pressure, or traces of clashing from opposing dies, details that may seem minor individually but collectively paint a picture of a coin born from chaos, and even debate surrounding the coin contributes to its value, because controversy sustains interest, and sustained interest sustains high valuations, and as long as experts discuss, analyze, and argue about its origins, the coin remains alive in the public imagination, and ultimately, the $15,001,999 penny stands as a reminder that history often leaves its most fascinating traces not in grand monuments but in small, overlooked objects that survive by accident, carrying within them the story of human systems under strain, machines pushed beyond limits, and moments when everything went wrong in just the right way. Next. 1999 D1 cent. Today's story is going to completely captivate you, because we are diving into the astonishing tale of a 1999 D1 cent coin that has been valued at an incredible $14 million, a value that seems impossible for a penny until you understand the extraordinary chain of errors, mistakes, rare conditions, and tantalizing possibilities that transform this ordinary Denver minted cent into one of the most talked about modern coin legends in existence. And to appreciate how this happened, we must slowly peel back every layer of the story, starting with the year 1999 itself, a year charged with anticipation, pressure, and transition as the world prepared for the new millennium, a time when the United States Mint was operating at full throttle to meet demand, juggling massive production numbers, public scrutiny, commemorative programs, and internal upgrades, all while still relying on physical machinery and human oversight that could, and sometimes did, fail in spectacular ways, and the Denver Mint, identified by the D Mint mark on coins, was no exception, producing hundreds of millions of pennies that year, which meant that even a tiny lapse in quality control could allow something extraordinary to slip through unnoticed, and the 1-cent coin, already seen by many as nearly worthless in everyday commerce, was often the lowest priority in terms of inspection, making it the perfect candidate for rare and dramatic errors, and the first major factor that makes the 1999 D penny so valuable lies in its metal composition, because while standard 1999 D cents were struck on zinc planchets coated with a thin layer of copper, this particular coin is believed to have been struck on an incorrect planchet, possibly a leftover solid copper blank intended for an earlier year, a foreign planchet, or even a transitional or experimental blank that was never meant to be used for regular production, and wrong planchet errors are among the most prized in numismatics because they require multiple failures to occur simultaneously, including improper blank sorting, failure of detection systems, and human oversight, and such errors can be conclusively verified through weight, density, and metallurgical testing, giving collectors confidence that the coin is genuinely anomalous, and confidence is the foundation of high value. But the metal mistake is only the beginning, because the strike itself reveals a cascade of mechanical errors that should never coexist on a single coin, starting with a dramatic off-center strike that left a portion of the design missing while still retaining the full date and mint mark, a combination that is far rarer than most people realize because off-center strikes often lose critical identifying features, yet this coin preserves enough detail to clearly establish its identity, making it far more desirable to collectors. And layered on top of this is a pronounced double strike, indicating that the coin was struck once, failed to eject properly from the press, shifted position, and was struck again, resulting in overlapping letters, doubled numerals, and distorted design elements that appear almost surreal, as though the coin is showing two moments in time at once, and such errors require extremely precise timing of mechanical failure, making them far scarcer than ordinary doubling. And then there is the matter of die alignment, because the front and back of the coin are rotated relative to each other beyond acceptable tolerances, suggesting a loose or improperly seated die, a serious mechanical issue that should have halted production but instead persisted long enough to create this anomaly. And die rotation errors are especially prized because they provide direct evidence of internal press instability, revealing moments when the machinery itself was struggling to maintain integrity under immense pressure, and this pressure is further evidenced by the presence of significant die cracks and possible die breaks across the surface of the coin, visible as raised lines and irregular metal formations that indicate the die was severely worn or fractured at the moment of striking, and these cracks are not random but act as fingerprints of a specific die in a specific state of failure, meaning that if no other coins exist with the same pattern, this penny could represent a singular moment frozen in metal. And singular moments are the ultimate prize in collecting because they cannot be replicated. And adding yet another layer of intrigue is the possibility that the coin was struck with a mismatched or improperly prepared die, because some experts believe subtle design inconsistencies suggest that either the obverse or reverse die may not fully match standard 1999 D specifications, raising the possibility that a test die, a die from a different year, or a die intended for a different mint was mistakenly used, and if confirmed, this would represent a catastrophic breakdown in mint protocol, because modern minting systems are designed with multiple redundancies to prevent such errors, and the failure of all those safeguards simultaneously would elevate the coin from rare to historic, as it would stand as physical evidence of systemic failure during a critical period in U.S. minting history. And beyond the physical characteristics, the story of discovery plays a massive role in the $14 million valuation, because according to the narrative surrounding this coin, it was not discovered in a controlled or prestigious setting but emerged from everyday circulation, possibly found in pocket change, a coin roll from a bank, or a household jar that had gone unexamined for years, and this element of chance resonates deeply with collectors and the general public alike, reinforcing the idea that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. And once the coin was identified as unusual, it reportedly passed through the hands of multiple experts, each examining different aspects of its anomalies, from composition and weight to strike characteristics and die markers, and as more professionals confirmed its uniqueness, confidence grew, and with confidence came escalating valuations, because the rare coin market thrives on expert consensus, and when respected authorities agree that a coin defies conventional classification, collectors and investors take notice, and competition intensifies, and the $14 million figure reflects not just the coin's physical traits but its story, its symbolism, and its perceived uniqueness, and condition plays a critical role here as well, because despite its errors, the coin is believed to be in exceptionally high condition, showing minimal wear, strong detail, and intact surfaces, suggesting it was removed from circulation very quickly, perhaps by someone who sensed it was special even before understanding why, and high condition dramatically enhances the visibility and impact of errors, making them clearer, more dramatic, and more convincing, which in turn fuels demand and drives prices higher. And another important factor is the broader implication of the coin's existence, because for many years collectors believed that modern pennies, especially those made of zinc, could not produce true rarities due to advanced technology and quality control. Yet this 1999 D penny challenges that assumption head-on, proving that even in an era of automation, human systems can still fail in extraordinary ways, and this realization has sparked renewed interest in modern coin hunting, with people examining recent years more closely, hoping to find the next anomaly, and this renewed attention adds retrospective value, because the coin becomes a catalyst for a broader movement within the hobby, and psychologically, the idea that a penny can be worth $14 million is irresistibly powerful, because it challenges our understanding of value, labor, and worth, transforming the coin into a symbol of how randomness, imperfection, and chance can sometimes outperform intention and design, and this philosophical dimension enhances its appeal, making it more than just a collectible, turning it into a conversation piece that represents the unpredictable nature of history itself, and at the highest levels of wealth, buyers seek objects that are unique, portable, historically intriguing, and universally recognizable, and a 1-cent coin fits that profile perfectly because everyone understands what a penny is, which makes its transformation into a multi-million-dollar artifact even more striking, and whispers of additional microscopic anomalies only deepen the mystique, such as subtle doubling visible only under magnification, unusual metal flow lines suggesting abnormal striking pressure, or traces of die clashes that hint at repeated mechanical failures, details that may seem minor individually but collectively paint a vivid picture of a coin born from chaos, and even debate surrounding the coin contributes to its value, because controversy sustains interest, and sustained interest sustains high valuations, and as long as experts continue to analyze, question, and discuss its origins, the coin remains alive in the public imagination, and ultimately, the $14,001,999 D penny stands as a powerful reminder that history often leaves its most fascinating evidence not in grand monuments or famous artifacts but in small, overlooked objects that survive by accident, carrying within them the story of machines pushed beyond limits, systems under strain, and moments when everything went wrong in just the right way, and it invites all of us to look more closely at the everyday items we handle without thought. Last 1984 D 1 cent, today's deep dive is going to keep you hooked from start to finish, because we are exploring the unbelievable story of a 1984 D 1 cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $13 million, a penny that on the surface looks like something you might toss into a jar without a second thought, yet beneath that humble appearance lies a combination of rare errors, critical mistakes, historical circumstances, and tantalizing possibilities that elevate it into legendary status. And to truly grasp how a 1984 D penny could ever be worth such an incredible amount, we need to slowly and carefully unpack every layer of the story, starting with the era in which it was created, because the early 1980s were a turbulent and transitional time for the United States Mint, marked by changes in metal composition, aging machinery, increased production demands, and evolving quality control standards, and all of these factors combined to create the perfect environment for rare and dramatic errors to slip through unnoticed, and the Denver Mint, identified by the D Mint mark on the coin, was operating at enormous capacity during this period, producing hundreds of millions of cents each year, often pushing equipment to its limits, and when machines are stressed, dies wear down faster, presses fall out of alignment, and human operators are forced to prioritize speed over meticulous inspection, especially for low-denomination coins like the 1 cent piece that were considered expendable in everyday commerce, and this context is crucial, because it explains how a series of unlikely mistakes could converge on a single coin, and the first and most famous error associated with the 1984 D penny is the dramatic double die obverse, one of the most visually striking and widely recognized errors in modern U.S. coinage, where Lincoln's portrait, particularly the ear and surrounding features, appears clearly doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process, and unlike common machine doubling, which is flat and shelf-like, a true double die results from the die itself being impressed more than once at slightly different angles, creating raised, rounded doubling that is unmistakable under magnification, and this error alone makes certain 1984 D pennies extremely valuable. But the $13 million example is believed to go far beyond the standard doubled ear variety, incorporating additional layers of rarity that elevate it into an entirely different category, because experts suggest that this specific coin may have been struck from a die that not only exhibited dramatic doubling but was also severely misaligned, cracked, and near total failure at the moment of striking, capturing an extraordinary convergence of die creation errors and die deterioration in a single impression. And adding to this is the possibility that the coin was struck on an incorrect or transitional planchet, because 1982 marked the official transition from primarily copper cents to zinc cents with a thin copper coating, yet the years immediately following were not immune to leftover materials, experimental blanks, or improperly mixed planchets finding their way into production, and if this 1984 D penny was struck on a copper planchet instead of the standard zinc core, the weight, density, and metallic composition would instantly distinguish it from ordinary issues, and wrong planchet errors are among the most sought after in numismatics because they demonstrate a failure at multiple checkpoints, from blank preparation to press loading, and such errors can be conclusively verified through scientific testing, which adds immense credibility and confidence is everything when values reach into the millions. But the story doesn't end with composition and doubling, because the strike characteristics of this coin suggest additional mechanical failures, including evidence of a partial off-center strike that still retained full date and mint mark visibility, a combination that is far rarer than many people realize because most off-center coins lose critical identifying elements, yet this one preserved enough detail to remain unmistakably identifiable, dramatically increasing its desirability, and layered onto this is the suggestion of a double strike, where the coin failed to eject after the first strike, shifted position, and was struck again, creating overlapping and distorted design elements that appear almost three-dimensional, as if the coin is showing two moments frozen together in metal, and such an error requires extremely precise timing of mechanical malfunction, making it far less common than standard strike errors. And then there is the issue of die alignment, because examination of this legendary coin reportedly reveals rotation between the obverse and reverse beyond acceptable tolerances, indicating that one of the dies was loose or improperly seated, a serious condition that should have stopped production immediately, yet instead persisted long enough to produce this anomaly. And die rotation errors are particularly prized by collectors because they provide direct insight into the internal instability of the press at the moment of striking, and this instability is further evidenced by prominent die cracks and possible die breaks visible across the surface of the coin, appearing as raised lines and irregular metal formations that suggest the die was severely fatigued and possibly fracturing at the exact moment the coin was struck. And these cracks are not random but act as unique fingerprints of a specific die in a specific state of failure, meaning that if no other coins exist with the same crack patterns, this penny could represent a singular moment in minting history that can never be duplicated. And uniqueness at this level is the ultimate driver of value, because when a coin is truly one of one, traditional pricing models collapse and value becomes driven entirely by desire, narrative, and competition among elite collectors. And adding yet another layer of intrigue is the possibility of a mismatched die pairing, where the obverse and reverse dies used to strike the coin may not have been intended to be used together, perhaps originating from different production batches or states of wear. And such a mismatch would indicate a catastrophic lapse in mint protocol, as modern systems are designed to prevent exactly this kind of error, and if proven, it would elevate the coin from rare to historically significant, serving as physical evidence of systemic failure during a critical period of transition in U.S. coinage. And beyond the physical characteristics, the story of discovery plays a powerful role in the $13 million valuation, because according to accounts surrounding this coin, it was not discovered in a controlled or prestigious environment but emerged from ordinary circulation, possibly found in pocket change, a bank roll, or a household coin jar that had gone unexamined for years. And this element of chance resonates deeply with both collectors and the general public, reinforcing the idea that extraordinary value can hide in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And once the coin was identified as unusual, it reportedly underwent extensive examination by multiple experts, including numismatists, metallurgists, and grading authorities, each confirming different aspects of its anomalies, from die doubling and crack patterns to composition and strike characteristics. And as expert consensus grew, so did confidence, and with confidence came escalating valuations, because the rare coin market is built on trust in expert verification, and when respected authorities agree that a coin defies conventional classification, collectors and investors take notice, and competition intensifies. And the $13 million figure reflects not just the coin's physical traits but the story it tells, the moment it represents, and the belief that it may be entirely unique. And condition plays a crucial role as well, because despite its dramatic errors, this coin is believed to be in exceptionally high state of preservation, showing minimal wear, sharp details, and strong surfaces, suggesting it was removed from circulation quickly, perhaps by someone who sensed it was special even before understanding exactly why. And high condition dramatically amplifies the visual impact of errors, making them clearer, more dramatic, and more convincing, which in turn drives demand and pushes values higher. And there is also a broader implication to the existence of such a coin, because for many years collectors believed that modern pennies, especially those produced in massive quantities during the late 20th century, could not produce true rarities. Yet this 1984 penny challenges that assumption completely, proving that even in an era of automation and standardized processes, human systems can still fail in spectacular and valuable ways. And this realization has reignited interest in modern coin hunting, with people examining their change more closely and revisiting overlooked years, hoping to uncover the next anomaly. And this renewed attention retroactively increases the significance of coins like this one, because they become catalysts for renewed enthusiasm within the hobby. And psychologically, the idea that a penny can be worth $13 million is profoundly compelling, because it challenges our assumptions about value, effort, and reward, transforming the coin into a symbol of how chance, imperfection, and timing can sometimes produce outcomes far greater than intention or design.